Hello, bruvs. We're back with the Memoirs of Bridget Hitler, edited by Michael Unger, Duckworth Publication, and it's illustrated. We are on chapter 4. Well, they're not really chapters, they're more like sections, but we'll call it chapter 4 because, for lack of a better word. 4. In August 1929, Pat was to have a 2 weeks vacation. He proposed to use his holiday to comply with his father's urgent request that he visit him in Berlin. With eager anticipation, he made all arrangements for the journey. I thought of Mrs. Prentice, whose astrological forecast had predicted this trip so many years before. Certainly, her insistence that Pat learn German had influenced me towards encouraging it, and now that he was going to Germany, would the future bring the great things she prophesied were in store for him. I let him go, extracting a promise that he would write everything that happened to him. I still have those letters preserved with his first years and a lock of his baby hair. As I am preparing this manuscript, and there's William Patrick Hitler in London, aged 18. The original caption to this agency picture read, English-born nephew of new German idol. As I am preparing this manuscript and reread them, I sincerely feel that they warrant inclusion. An English boy 4 years before the German dictator came to power sets down in a frank account intended only for the eyes of his mother his experiences in the Hitler household. The first letter concerns his father. Dear Mother, the trip seemed terribly long. I was so anxious to get here, though I must confess, after the train crossed the German frontier, I wasn't so sure it was a good idea. All I could think of was those stories about the Kaiser they used to tell when we were children. When I saw the signs Berlin, Bahnhof, Weinbergstrasse, my heart jumped right in my throat. I was going to meet Father. I got out and waited on the platform. I heard someone call me, Willie, Willie, and the next minute Father rushed forward and embraced me. What do you got, brubs? You didn't know me, he was laughing, but I recognized you right away. He grabbed all my luggage and rushed me to a streetcar, talking every minute. He was in a great hurry to take me home and have me meet his wife and my half-brother. They live on the Luckenwaldstrasse in a third-floor flat. You wouldn't like it. Too much furniture and too many pictures. Right on the most prominent spot in the living room is a life-size painting of Uncle Adolf in stormtrooper's uniform. Father introduced me to his wife, whom he calls Mamie. She said I had better call her that too. She was very nice to me and seems very devoted to Father, but it's easy to see that he's the boss of the household. She hardly says a word when he is around. Heinz is 8 years old and very blond. I can't seem to believe that he and I have the same father. I don't think he looks anything like me, and it's so strange to hear a voice speaking nothing but German. But Father is trying to teach him English. Father always speaks English to me when we're alone. I feel very strange here, particularly with Father, though he acts as if he'd been with me every day of my life. I had no idea it would be so odd to be in a foreign country. I miss you very much. After we ate a heavy dinner, Father brought out a bottle of wine and poured out a glass for himself and another for me. Then he settled down to talk about you. I can't get your mother off my mind. She'll always remain the great love of my life, he began, but I didn't give him much encouragement. Then he took out his old-fashioned gold watch, opened the back of it, and showed me a lock of hair. Your mother's, he said, and quickly put it away again. I didn't like any of this very much, but I guess you want to know, so I'm trying to put down exactly what he told me. My dear boy, he said, I'm going to tell you, our lives run in circles. If we do a good deed or a bad deed, it follows up, or we come round and meet it. God has exacted a terrible punishment from me for the way I treated your mother. She is a wonderful woman, and no one realizes it better than I. That's what Father said about you, and he made a big fuss over me, too. Well, goodbye for now, and take good care of yourself while I'm gone. Your loving son, Pat. Another letter concerned the first time Pat encountered his busy uncle. Dear mother, I am writing you from Nuremberg. Where we arrived yesterday, first thing in the morning, Father greeted me with, "We're going to Nuremberg." I didn't mean to be impolite, but I didn't quite understand why he was so excited until Mamie explained, "Don't you understand? We're going to the National Socialist Party Congress. We're going to see Adolf." Really, Mother, I think she was more thrilled than Father. No, this is the Falabood. Father, Mamie, Heinz, and I were on the train all day. It was frightfully hot. We rode in the third-class compartment, and for dinner we had only sandwiches and coffee Mamie had brought. I had heard a lot about Nuremberg and looked forward to seeing it, almost as much as Uncle Adolf, but actually I saw nothing but flags. They were hanging everywhere, draped over everything. You couldn't even see the houses. It was like a gigantic country fair. We didn't stay at a hotel. Rooms were at a premium since most of them had been removed or reserved months ahead. We all crowded into a 3-room flat of a friend of Father's. I heard Uncle Adolf make a speech in the Louis Poldhan, I don't know how to say that, a large park outside the city. There he is, his Uncle Adolf. There must have been about 30,000 men there, all in SS or SA uniforms, just like soldiers. I asked Father how that could be, and he said it was because Uncle Adolf was so clever. In the German Republican Constitution, he said, you can't find one word that forbids men to wear uniforms for a show like this. Father says Uncle Adolf is a genius because he does everything legally, and the Republicans who let him get away with it, Father said, have only themselves to blame because they are so weak and stupid. Yeah, he was right. Father went to speak with Uncle Adolf, telling us all to stay where we were. We were hoping to get a chance to talk to him, too. But Father came back and said it was impossible, as Uncle Adolf didn't want to mix his family with business. Business. The letter ends here, and I received no more that trip. When Pat's holiday was over, he came home full of excitement. It took him hours to tell me about it. He described the whole family in detail. Mamie had been very nice to him, and so had Eloise's sister, Angela. This is not a pot of gold. This is just a book. Official photograph of Hitler in public and private roles. Has anybody seen that video of that guy? The fat dude who looks like Adolf Hitler? It's pretty funny. Angela had come to visit Mamie while Pat was there, so he had an opportunity to meet her and her daughter Geely, who was only a few years older than Pat, but he didn't meet her 2 other children, Leo and Friedel, until later. Among the souvenirs of Pat's second trip to Germany, which took place in 1930, I found a letter which described the first meeting with his famous uncle. Here it is. Dear Mother, we had just finished dinner last night, and Father was unfolding the evening paper when the bell rang. Heinz ran to open the door. It was Uncle Adolf wearing a trench coat with the collar turned up and a Homburg hat pulled down in front. Underneath, he was wearing an ordinary blue business suit. He looks much better than in uniform. Father was very surprised because the newspaper had said there was a big party meeting that night. What happened? He asked Uncle Adolf. Why are you alone? Uncle Adolf was smiling and jokingly said he'd got bored with the meeting and his bodyguards and wanted some of Mamie's good coffee. Anyhow, he added, looking at me with a twinkle in his eye, I wanted to meet this Englishman. Cheers. Mamie quickly introduced me, then went out for coffee and whipped cream. Father was quite excited at the honor of being visited by Uncle Adolf and began to walk up and down the room the way he does. Uncle Adolf sat down on the sofa under the oil painting of himself. When Mamie came back with a large plateful of homemade cake, Uncle Adolf fell to and ate most of it. He seemed to be in a good humor and asked Father if he'd heard his latest speeches. I know Father was familiar with them because he'd been reading them to me out of the papers, translating the words I didn't know. But he listened very attentively while Uncle Adolf told what he'd said. I had no idea Father could be such a good listener. Uncle Adolf didn't seem to be disturbed at all by my presence, and told us all the news about Angela and her daughter Geely. You remember I told you about meeting them last year. Geely is the nicest of the whole family, and she can speak English too. Uncle Adolf complained to Father about his troubles with the industrialists, particularly her Herr Tyson, whom he had been visiting. I have to keep on good terms with him, he said. After all, the party needs their millions. He says that the Jew press is attacking him again, and the others all nodded their heads as though they knew what he meant. Uncle Adolf had been looking at me from time to time as though he were curious about me. Now he turned to me and said, "And you English boy, what is your opinion on the Jewish question? What are they doing about it in England?" I was really embarrassed, but tried to tell him as well as I could in my broken German that we didn't have any Jewish question in England, and that we didn't make any distinction about religion. I told him we had many friends whose religion we didn't even know. In Germany it would be different, he shouted at me. Germany is too small for religion and the party. The party needs the whole man, not a piece of him. The party must be everything to him. Even his family must be subordinated. That is how we shall build a strong nation. There will be no place for religion in the future. First, we will get rid of the Jews. They are the weakest, and then we must rule out Catholicism. The Catholics are too well organized. In a few generations, no one will know that a Jew called Jesus ever existed, and no German will be ruled by a man in a robe. Germany will be our religion. Germany will be our religion. And then he wound up with Germany is chained thanks to the Jews and the Catholics. I am a Catholic, I told him. I know, I know, bruv. I know, he said, and so am I. But it's true, just the same. Catholics drove the dagger into Bismarck's back, and it doesn't matter what country they live in. They all stick together. But Germany must be German first. We must make sure of that. I felt like pointing out that he was an Austrian himself, but thought better of it and contented myself with asking him, what about the Protestants? I guess he had been a little bit hard on the Catholics then, because he suddenly slapped me on the back and laughed loudly, saying, the Protestants are not organized. Then he asked me jokingly if I went to church every Sunday. When I said I did, he and Father both laughed. Then Father said I never found going to church paid my rent. It was getting late then, so Uncle Adolf had to go. Another letter is devoted to Pat's cousin Geely. I include it because it bears almost unique witness to that odd love story between uncle and niece. Oh no, which culminated in a mysterious tragedy. I think this is, we'll just let it play out. Dear Mother, yesterday Aunt Angela and Geely came for a visit. It's the first time I've seen Geely this year. I think that's how you pronounce G-E-L-I, Geely. And I was glad she came because we always got on well. You know, Mother, Geely looks more like a child than a girl, though she's actually older than I. You couldn't call her pretty exactly, but she has great natural charm. She's just a nice height, not too short and not too tall. She has deep blue eyes and blonde wavy hair. She usually goes without a hat and wears very plain clothes, pleated skirts and white blouses. no jewelry except a gold swastika given her by Uncle Adolf, whom she calls Uncle Elf. She told me her name is actually Angelica, but Uncle Adolf nicknamed her Geely, and gradually everyone has taken it up. So Angelica, so that would be Jelly. It's got to be Geely. It can't be Jelly. It can't be Jelly, bruvs. It can't be Jelly. It could be Jelly. We made a date for today. Geely loves to walk and offered to show me her favorite haunts in Berlin. I went to call for her at the Gasthof Osknischer, the hotel where she and Aunt Angela always stop when they come to Berlin. Usually they live in Munich. The hotel is pretty run down and shabby. You'd really think they might choose a better one. When I said something about it to Geely, she just smiled. You don't know Uncle Elf, Willie. Like all the family, she calls me Willie. He wants us to set an example of frugality to the people. He never permits us to spend a penny more than is necessary. Well, see, even Hitler had a virtue. As we strolled through the city, Geely kept returning to the topic of Uncle Adolf. He seems to be very much on her mind. She was very young when she and her mother went to live with Uncle Adolf. Geely's father died in the war, so Uncle Adolf acted father to her and the other two children. I don't know, and I don't know how much of this is actually true. This is just obviously a memoir. He was utterly strict, she told me, and I don't really know any Hitler history, so here we go. He was utterly strict, she told me, though more with the others than with me. He was always different with me. I am his special favorite. He would never go to sleep without saying good night to me, even when he didn't get home until long after I was in bed. Lots of times he would wake me up in the middle of the night just to say a few words. I guess Geely is the only one Uncle Adolf is affectionate with. She told me even when he's in a savage mood, storming about and breaking things, if she begins to cry, he pulls himself out of it and comforts her. There were long periods when she scarcely saw him at all. He had no time for anyone when he was fighting for the life of his party. That was when Geely began to study music seriously. She has a fine natural soprano voice, and her teachers say she could be a success in opera if she would really devote all her time to it. But Uncle Adolf doesn't want Geely to have a career. He thinks she should learn to be a good housewife first. In fact, I don't think he approves of careers for women at all. She said only once did he lose his temper with her. That was one night when she was out here, or out late, after a concert, and a boy brought her home. Uncle Adolf was furious and forbade her to go out with boys at all. Imagine you come home from a date and you gotta drop the date off to Adolf Hitler. It was a week before he was nice to her again, and then he began to take her everywhere with him. They would go riding in his car. When he was in Munich, Geely stayed at his Prinz Regentenz, I don't know what that says, apartment. He even took her on party business to Berlin and Nuremberg. They were inseparable. I guess if it weren't for Geely's music, she probably would allow herself to be completed, enslaved by him. Is this Geely? William Patrick and his cousin Geely Robble for the first time in 1929 when this photograph of Geely was taken. Let's take a look at her. She kind of looks like, what's her name? Marjorie Taylor Greene. I guess if it weren't for Geely's music, she probably would allow herself to be completed. I think this word's spelled. It's supposed to be completely enslaved by him. For that's what his interest actually amounts to. He wants to take absolute possession of her. He can't bear to have her show the slightest interest in anything or anyone other than himself. Any moment she must be ready to go where he wants, stop whatever she's doing to follow his slightest whim. Sometimes he makes her sit at the movies all day with him, then go back in the evening. Geely gets bored but has to accompany him. She never quarrels with him, but it's only necessary for her to try to get out of going to make him angry. There is never any time for her singing lessons. I think he's jealous of my music, Geely said. After we talked a while, I found that it wasn't so much the music Uncle Adolf objected to as Geely's teacher, who comes especially from Vienna to give her lessons. He's half Jewish, and Uncle Adolf doesn't want Geely to have anything to do with him for that reason. That seems daft to me, as Geely said. What difference can his being Jewish make? He's a fine teacher. Uncle Adolf is really hipped on the subject. Geely says she can't even talk to him about it. It's quite a problem for her because she feels she owes Uncle Adolf a lot for bringing her up and taking care of her mother, and she's sure he's really fond of her, but she doesn't like it that he watches her all the time and doesn't let her do anything she wants. I asked her what she wanted to do, and she said go to Vienna and study singing. Singing. She told me sometimes she feels like running away. Anything would be better than being kept down the way she is. She was practically in tears this evening and very upset about the whole thing. I didn't know what to tell her. She has a very nice voice, but if Uncle Adolf was against her, it would be difficult for her to do anything with it. And of course, she has no money except what he gives her. Anyway, I think it's too bad. Well, this is much longer than I intended, and it's late, so I'll close. With love. Oh, Pat. When Pat came home, we had a long talk, and I asked Pat what the family thought about Adolf and Geely. Mamie thoroughly disapproved and said it was ridiculous that Adolf should behave as he did, taking Geely everywhere and holding her hand and kissing her and cuddling. She said Geely was a sweet girl, and it was a pity Adolf wouldn't leave her alone. Where's my cat? My cat is in the shelter. I'm going to go see my kitty Monday and see if I can get a kitty. No! No! How long is this next chapter? This is pretty damn long. Yeah, I don't think I'm reading. That's what? 78? That's 16 pages. There's no way I'm reading that. All right. That's going to have to be all. Where's your cat, Bubba? Where's your cat, Bubba? Did he? Where'd he go? Look at this. This is going to be my next short. It's just going to be this. Flashing on and off. Like a fluorescent neon sign. Come watch. Come to my channel. What do you got? It's got a shiny nose like Rudolph, Bubba. That's Ava when she's 57. And that's this one guy. Female. Some Polish guy with a female name. think his last name is Patelski. What's he got? Who? Ava Braun? No, that's not Ava Braun. This is Bridget Hitler. This is Bridget Hitler, motherfucker. Ava Braun, um, yeah, supposedly died the same day as Hitler. This is Hitler's half brother's first wife, Bridget. Bridget Downing. This is why it's the Memoirs of Bridget Hitler, Bubba. And apparently, Eloise, who is Hitler's half brother, went to what's it called, Germany during World War I and got stuck there because obviously when you're in a war zone you can't just get up and leave. So he got stuck there, and then she was trapped without a country because she was married to an Austrian, and she basically had no country. But then after or before Hitler became I guess the Fuhrer, he was whatever he was. I don't even know what his position. What was he? The Chancellor? I don't really know German politics at that time or now. But yeah, before he became the Fuhrer, I think he was a Chancellor or something like that. Yeah, something like that, Bubba. So this is her supposed account of. Well, there are like newspaper clippings of her son going to visit Hitler, and Hitler didn't like him because I think he was giving interviews or something about him. He was talking about him to publications, and Hitler didn't like it. But like I said, I don't really know anything about Hitler. But this lady's great. Historians claim that most of this book is, or half the book is fabrication, but I don't know. They also claim that FDR didn't fucking allow Pearl Harbor to happen on purpose, and obviously he did. So I'm not sure we can really believe historians. I'm gonna write a book about well, they claim that he was in, where was he at? Let's go back to the beginning. He supposedly was in Liverpool in 1913. And those account for his lost years. That's what Bridget claims. And historians say it's bullshit, but who knows? Who knows? And then there's other people who, like conspiracy people, who claim that he was there in 19, I think it's 12 and 13. Where the hell was it? When does it start? The conspiracists say that he was there in 1912 and 13 because he was a British asset, which probably actually makes sense, honestly. Because Hitler just didn't rise to power on his own because they bankrupted Germany in the First World War, and I mean, they made him insolvent. Whatever the fuck we were called, the Allies. Yeah, they totally bankrupted Germany. And then Wall Street was funneling money to Hitler. The year was 1909. When the fuck did Hitler come there? Anyway, I need to write a book that says that Hitler was the father of one of the Beatles, but I'd have to figure out their actual ages. He couldn't have been, though, if he was there in 1913. That doesn't make sense. The Beatles weren't born till like 1940. Oh, well, there goes that fucking theory. Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking of wartime. But this was supposedly happening in like 1912 when Adolf was only 22. There he is, Alois. Hitler's papa. There he is. Is that him? I don't know if that is him. That might be Fat Hitler from the internet. That's Gustav. Why does it say like 7 names? Gustav. That's Adolf. Yeah, that is him. Why does it have 7 names next to him? Those all the kids? Yeah, there's Paula Hitler. What do you got? Maybe this forward mentions it. Oh, the fuck does he claim it? There she is. She reminds me of Gundella the Witch. We'll see when it was. That's it. 1973. Nobody knows, buddy. The fuck is it? See, there it is. Hitler's English nephew is here. Where the fuck? What the most here? Anyway, it doesn't align with what I was going to write my book about. That he was the father of the Beatles. Could be the grandfather of the Beatles. What's this say? Hitler relative here, volunteer British aid. New York Times. Wow. Where's my kitten? Feed my kitty. Who's this? There's Geely with Leo. She's not good looking. Adolf had bad taste in women. Look at this fucking idiot. Hey! I got a fucking pencil stash. Block stash. Whose fucking block mustache came first? Charlie Chaplin or Hitler's? Angela with her brother Adolf. Kind of looks like Babe Ruth, honestly. Who's that? Geely? Jesus Christ. This can't be real, is it? Oh, fuck. We're just hanging out. That can't be real. The fuck is he doing? Look at that. Hey, baby. Look at this fucking moron. How can you have a fucking mustache like that? Alois, Adolf, and Angela, the 3 principal characters in William Patrick's dramatic meeting in Berlin. Can't get over that mustache. I mean, it's just fucking vile. There he looks like that one dude. Who's that actor? Yeah, what the fuck is going on there? He looks like a, what do they call him? A fop. He looks like a fop here. I gotta find this picture on my laptop. Look at that. That can't be fucking real. That's got to be a Hollywood staged. Why would you ever let yourself be photographed looking like that? Oh, hi, Gailey. She's not very good looking. Hey, it's my cousin. She's easy access. No, that's right. She was his niece. Look that photo up and see if it is. Obviously, it's real, but god damn, why would he allow that to be published? He looks like a fop. I'm a fop, bruv. Eloise was right. All right, back to the. You're gonna keep scrolling? Peace out, dog. I'm outie.